Hello, long time no see. I've been hibernating hard this winter, which is unusual and it's taken its toll. But one of the little joyous things that happened recently was that one of my favourite tent companies sent me one of their tents to review. I noticed there were no reviews of this tent on YouTube. Now, fair enough, I think it was only released like the end of last year, or like autumn last year maybe, but still I was like, because it's really competitive lightweight tent, and I'm quite surprised that it's not up there now. Maybe people have it and own it or given it a bit of a go and haven't put up reviews yet, and this is not a review, this is just first impressions, pitching it in as best as I can in my flat. I did have a wee look at the inner of it at least, and some of the poles and stuff the other night, so this is me trying to put it up a bit more and have a wee look at it properly. So basically I reached out to Fjern. I already have had, there's one person Gakota, then I got the 2-person one because I like the 1-person one, had the 2-person one which I loved as well, and then I sold off the 2-person one and got the 1-person Storm Grota, and it's like 1.6 kilograms for a 1-person tent, but it is really strong, so I was happier, was doing a wee bit more camping up in the morns where it tends to be a bit windier, so I was okay with having that wee bit of extra weight for the strength of the tent. But then they brought out this tent and I was like, what? And it weighs in at 875 grams for, you know, a double skin tent with poles and all. So this is the Fjern Fjäder. I do not know how you pronounce it. So I call it the Darth Vader. So yeah, Fjern sent me his brand new tent for me to do a review on it, and then put it out there and just see, at least people get to have a wee look in, and see if they decide they want to buy it. One of the reasons why I think people might be a bit skeptical about it is because it uses carbon fibre poles, and I think that's how they've got the weight down. So 875 grams for a 1-person tent. Like the inner is totally mesh, so that's another way they've done it. The pegs are a little bit smaller, materials are maybe a wee bit thinner, but yeah, like all some of the top companies like MSR have their carbon reflex. You know, you'll pay 500 odd quid for something like that. Alpkit do one, and again, I think the market for a lot of these tents, at least the Alpkit anyway, and this potentially is for people on bicycles, because it's a bit, you know, it's quite short, and it'll fit into different panniers and saddlebags or crossbar bags, I think. I don't know the lingo for all that cycling stuff, but yeah, so I think that's one of the markets for this, but it definitely has a place for lightweight backpacking, hiking. So yeah, I'm really excited to get this out. Say I'll put it up here as best I can, have a bit of a look at it, a wee close first inspection, first impressions kind of thing, and then I'll try and either get out in the dirt or actually get out in a hike camp with it soon, very soon hopefully. Yeah, that winter hibernation was a head melt. So yeah, I'm keen to get out and be healed by nature and sunshine hopefully. Right, let's try and get this put up. Right, I'll just show you the contents. Pegs, they have made these a wee bit shorter as well. I haven't even measured those, but they are definitely a bit shorter than their average peg. But they also have a wee twist in them. Don't even make it out, a wee twist. So that's pretty cool. I like those. I've never had any issues with the pegs that Fjern provide. Apart from they don't give you the full ensemble, they should give 12 like every company in the making tents. And it doesn't matter how much money you spend on a tent, they still give you like enough pegs just about to like pitch it out, but not like all the guidelines and stuff. So I think you need 12, so I'll be adding 2 other pegs into that. So this is probably the most interesting part of it, is the carbon fibre poles. So it's very typical these days of like having these little sections. Like the feel's super duper quality. Like they're not Easton carbon fibre pulls, which is what I think MSR use. I don't know what Altkit use. I doubt it's Easton. They'd be the main company, but essentially all these things just get ripped off at some point. But yeah, these are super light, and this is definitely where some of the weight saving comes in. Like the feel good, really good quality. So even though they're really light and feel so different than aluminium alloy, like it, you know, it feels well made, well constructed, well manufactured. So yeah, it basically goes into these hubs. You got the legs that come out. The other interesting bit about this is there is a crossbar to give you a bit of space at the head of the tent, which I love about all of the tents I've had from Fjern. I don't like those low-lying kind of like Terra Nova laser type tents. I just don't. I want head height. I want to be able to sit up in a tent. It's just so important to me. I don't understand why people buy those other tents. And like the fact that, you know, they've been able to put a little piece of pole in, it just gives you that extra room around the head, is amazing. And like I thought this is quite interesting. It's not attached to the other poles. Like it's just this. You beat people with it. But it actually, you've got the little sockets on the inner, and it'll sit in there, but it'll also rest on top of one of the clips that connects the inner to the poles. But you'll see that better whenever I get this set up. Right, so I'll pop these poles together. I probably will take a wee bit of extra care with these, and I don't know if that's just being overcautious or just being too skeptical and unconvinced. But yeah, I probably will be a wee bit, take more care of them, but that's not a bad thing. Right, very typical little red alloy sockets, for want of a better term. Very typical, right in the socket. But it doesn't it's not giving me that feeling of like this is not gonna, or that this is gonna break. Right, I need to move something here. So you can see like this is all totally mesh. You've got your wee bathtub, which is great, reassuring, and then everything else is mesh. So it's not designed, it's not a 4-season tent by any stretch of the imagination, but the condensation should not be an issue because there should be a lot of airflow. Although there may not actually be, and I think this is common with these types of tents, that there's no ventilation on the outer, probably for weight saving, and there's probably no need for it as much as well, just because it's all mesh. So that's one of the things to bear in mind if you're wanting to get one of these. But yeah, like loads of tents these days, very similar setup with the clips all solid, and it gets nice and tight, reassuringly tight. Yeah, you can feel it, the tension on that. So that's the inner. Like it is narrower than a lot of one people tents, but it's just wide enough pretty much for your mat. And if you've got a wider mat, you know, it's enough for that probably, but nothing else. My mat, you might just have enough room to stick a bottle of water down beside it. But it's nice and long, because I think that's 210 centimeters. But yeah, then these give a nice, the way those poles are, it brings that up. So it's not like a sharp angle, it's a bit steeper. Cool, and then that's these little sockets here for the cross pole. And it goes over the top. And on this little clip here, it actually has a little run in it, like a wee kind of valley of sorts, so it actually slots in there, and that is solid as well. And then that gives a nice spread at the top. Single door, wee tiny skinny zips, but not bad quality skinny, just skinny, super lightweight. Massive door, zips all the way around there. And then just a more standard kind of retainer, but I like that because it's a elasticated loop, and I actually hate those the ones that are kind of like the silicone nylon. I suppose they're actually the ones in the outer might be silicone nylon, so which they can be slippy and really annoying. That is really solid, so that's not going to be slipping out and all over the place. I thought there wasn't going to be a pocket. There is a pocket right here. That's a nice size all the way across there. So that's cool. Actually sort of half thought you'd be sacrificing things like pockets for the weight. None on the other side. And nothing up here. No wee high loops or nothing. You could actually, there's little loops here, and you could thread some cord across that, which I would definitely do that. I'll just get some 2mm cord and then feed it across there, and then I'll be able to use that for hanging things on, lantern in particular. So yeah, mesh pocket there, sizable mesh pocket. I think it's pretty decent size. And then those wee loops, which you can cord. And yeah, the material, like, they are super thin. I think it's something like 15 denier on the base and like 10 on the Flysheet or something like that. The Flysheet feels so light, but again, not in a bad quality way. It's again, I'm sure it's similar kind of denier nylons to what MSR and Big Agnes or whatever else would be using. Right, this will be interesting. Bear with. Oh, there must be a vent because there's a wee strut. Amazing. There's all these things I thought I wouldn't be getting because of the weight of it. Awesome. Won't be no condensation in this tent. Right, so there's the zip, which is the yellow bit. And the yellow bit ought to be going. And imagine that vent is going to go on the other side there, in the middle. The other thing I'm looking for are little sort of Velcro attachments to secure it onto the poles. They may not exist. Yeah, one of the things I loved about the Storm Grota was it was one of the first Fjern tents that I bought that was, you could put the entire tent up together, basically outer first, or all together, and I love that. I do really like that. But what I'll do, like I did with this Gakota, is I'll come up with my own little rig so that I can put the outer up first and then put the inner up. Yeah, because it worked with a Gakota, I'm sure it'll work with this. Right, there's the zip. Right, and there's a seam, so that makes it handy. That's going to run along the crossbar there. So this is the same as most tents where you just slip the little socket, alloy socket onto underneath where the inner is clipped in. And those kettlebells would come in useful for something. Certainly not exercising. They get used as door stops and helping me put up tents indoors. Yeah, definitely there's a vent on the back here, which I'm glad that's there. That's fantastic. I like the crossbars lining up nicely with that seam in the top. That would irritate me if it didn't. Yeah, I had an non-issue with the Storm Grota in that the silicone nylon on this storm flap over the zip, it just gets soggy and floppy, and that's that same type of material. I almost wish there was like some more reinforcement or something along the edge just to stiffen it so that it would actually fold down properly, because I think there's times with, it's easily blown up, and that's with that Velcro attached there. So anyway, that's a thing. I don't know if that's going to be a thing, but it's something I'm noticing straight away on this. But again, this is not a 4-season tent. It'll be interesting to see what kind of winds it can tolerate, especially with the carbon fibre pools. And yes, this wee loop, it'd be great if that was elasticated too, because it was solid. And these wee slippery silicone nylon loops, everything just tends to slip out. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Obviously, you can cinch that down lower, but I think they have probably designed it so that it is actually slightly higher fly sheet. But whenever silicone nylon gets wet, it expands, so it allows you to sort of crank it down more if it is inclement weather. So, but it does look like it is higher. Again, a lot of ventilation. So this is definitely, it'll be ideal for like your kind of summer camps, or you know, spring, autumn kind of camps in decent conditions. I imagine it will actually tolerate a fair amount that might be thrown at it, but it's probably not what it's designed for. And I'll give you a wee closer look at the space in that. But yeah, that's class. And we'll maybe actually put up my air mat just to get an idea, or show you an idea of like how an air mat would fill that. I'm very happy with that. And there's more guide points as well. So there's a guide point here and on the other side on either of these bits here too. It's higher also because I'm using bungees and they're sitting up like that. Whereas if that was pegged into the ground, that would be lower. But yeah, a nice wee gap there to allow for that silicone nylon stretchiness. And also just for ventilation in warmer weather. Boop. Right, so I've got my Nature Hike NKTR Air R 5.8. Yep, love this mat. What I'm actually going to do now is, instead of using my wee AliExpress or no flex tail pump, which I use all the time, but I remember actually being surprised by pump sacks, and actually they were actually pretty quick. But it's been so long since I've used a pump sack, I want to remind myself how long it takes in comparison. But I like that it's a lot quieter. So I won't show you me pumping this up. I'll just either speed it up or just tell you how long it took. Yeah, right, I'll start with stopwatch down. Timers, stopwatch, bang, start. Right. That was pretty quick, and I suppose like this, the amount of air, especially like if you just breathe in it from afar, so it's not the same as blowing into your mat. I still don't know if I believe the whole condensation thing, but yeah, you just blow in very, very gently. It's like a small amount of your breath getting into, but that's a huge. So if you think about a little tiny pump this size, and it's like pulling the air in, but it actually takes a fair amount of like time to actually fill that massive mat with that tiny wee pump. Say a fair amount of time, it's probably about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes or something maybe. That was probably as quick, maybe. It could have been quicker. Similar, but at least that's either a backup if the pump fails, but it's quieter. So if you don't want to draw attention to yourself, pump sack for the win. Yeah, just like attach it, blow into it, or if it's a windy day, you can catch the wind in it. But like, do you see the volume in that compared to a little tiny pump that's going to take a longer time to generate that amount of air? So yeah, I would say it only took about four kind of full, because that first one I did was like only half that amount. I would say about 4 of those, or 5 max. It was all it took just to fill it up. Cool, okay. This is nice, even putting this up in the house after the hibernation, just to feel like I'm on my wee camp seat and everything. I've got my air mat. Just sleeping here, right? See how that fits. Perfect. Oh yeah, loads of room. cool. So yeah, there is a wee bit of space at the edge here for bits and bobs. And lengthwise, like that mat's fitting in there. It's probably 183 centimetre mat. And like there's another 30 plus centimetres space at the end of the tent. That's a closer look at the sort of silicone nylon storm flap. You can see sort of the creases on it. And I think my feeling was that even though there's Velcro way down here, that it's halfway down. Even if there was more Velcro, I kind of feel like this just doesn't sit down. So you've zipped it up and this doesn't automatically kind of like flap down. That's where I wish it was kind of reinforced in some way, maybe along that edge. Or if it was a magnet in there, it's more likely for the weight of it. Just I wouldn't take a huge amount, wouldn't add a huge amount of extra weight onto the tent in general, but I would give that more solid feeling that that storm flap is actually over the zip. So here's the space you're getting, and again that crossbar at the top's just giving a lot of that extra room. So that porch is sizable. There's a wee stool in there, you can see, get a sense. And that's pretty thick mat, but yeah, these walls come up nice steep. Yeah, that's like super roomy. And like this is a space I've got at the end, and that like is at least 30 centimeters at the end there. So if you do have a longer mat, or if you're just a longer person in general, I suppose it is a wee bit of a shame that there's not even like a wee zip. You'd almost be tempted to put a zip just along here, because you've actually got a fair amount of storage space there potentially at the back, but you can't access it. So, yeah, but I suppose if there's things you don't really need, you could store it there, fair enough. But I would almost be tempted to put a wee zip in there or something, or like a wee Velcro access. But then I don't want to ruin the integrity of the tent either. But it just seems like wasted space on the other side there. And then there's the vent, which is cool. So there's a little arm that Velcro's in and opens that up at the back. But yeah, I'm happy with it. Yeah, and there's a wee loops there that you could thread up, runs across there, and then that's your mesh pocket here at the side. Smashing. Like I said, this is not a review of the tent. I haven't used it. This is just the first impressions. And just to get something early on out there, as I said, there was no reviews of this tent at all on YouTube. And it's a great, like, I guessed it was going to be a pretty impressive tent. And especially now coming into spring, people will probably be busting at the bit to get out and maybe looking for a new tent or a lighter tent. And this could come up. Now, fair enough, a lot of people probably won't buy this at the retail that Fjern have on their actual website, which is like 600 quid. And like a lot of Fjern tents, I feel like the retail price has been overinflated. But having said that, I still think I've owned 3 of their tents. This is number 4. I think they're brilliant tents. I just still feel like the retail price is being retailed at the price of the likes of MSR and Big Agnes and and there are, I think, little quality differences in there, but not at the, I don't want to spend £600 a tent or £500 on an Ultralight one-person tent. But on Sports Pursuit at the minute anyway, this is going for £220. Is it worth £220? Yes, I think it is. So if you're able to get that, do that. Get it on Sport Pursuit website. I'm not sponsored by any of these. Like, I'm not sponsored by Fjern, not sponsored by Sport Pursuit. Fjern did send me this tent, but they didn't ask me to say anything. But they didn't say anything. I was like, do you want to give me one? I'll do a review of it. Yes, there we go. That was it. No stipulations. So I'm just giving you my honest perspective on these. Do I think the retail price is overinflated? Yes. If you did get it on the Fjern website, at least there's like I think a 20% discount first time buyer type thing. But I think the ideal is to go to Sport Pursuit website and get it whenever it's in sale. It's around the same price as like the Storm as the Dakota, around that kind of price, so £220 I think, and then like fibre postage. Is it worth that? Yeah, I think it definitely is. Like, I'm not going to spend the money in a big Agnes or even the Alp kit. I think comes in the £300 mark. So this gives me the opportunity like to try this tent out and see, especially with the trust issue with the carbon fibre poles. And it probably is a bit of a trust issue. Like, are they going to survive a night? What happens if they do break, and then it's like the snap? You get one snap, and then how do you deal with carbon fibre versus like aluminium alloy? So I'll probably be looking into like the potential for field repairs, or what you would do if something like that happened, or access to spare parts and stuff like that. But as far as the structure of the tent, size of the tent, yeah, I think it's brilliant. I'm really excited about getting it out, especially when it comes to like sort of warmer weather, because the amount of ventilation. But I've never had an issue with it. I've used super vented meshy tents all year round. Just you know, I've slept in the winter in a tarp on the ground. I'm like, so yeah, I'm okay with the tent. There's not like loads of mesh on it. I'm using it all year round, temperature wise. Like, just, you know, you're aware of what temperature it is. Bring extra layers, whatever. But it's just about the strength of it as far as winds and that go. So yeah, I don't think you'd be wanting to camp on any summits unless you got an absolutely guaranteed like zero wind scenario, which is very rare. But I think it's a great tent, and I'm so glad I have this. So basically now I've got the Storm Grota, which is the tent I'll bring whenever it's windy conditions, or if I'm going up want to sleep on top of the mountains. You know, if there's that unpredictability, I'll want to bring the Storm Grota. Whereas this gives me this other option for if I want to do like long hikes, and I do have one in my head, which I'm hoping to accomplish at some point over the next month or two. But yeah, I'd be excited to do it, and also to like be bringing something like this along with me if I'd get a nice wee window of more sort of stable weather. So that might be in May, to be honest. But yeah, I'll be super happy about getting this out. And also I got a new quilt. I'm going to test out a quilt. I've been a sleeping bag person ever since I started getting into the outdoors. And then recently, just the weight difference is like incredible. So I've basically got a second-hand Animus UL 850 quilt. Second-hand, it was like 150 quid. And it allows me to use it and then see if I like it and possibly sell it on. Like I prefer buying outdoor gear secondhand. I can test it out and sell it on, usually at the same price, or sometimes more or a little bit less. So yeah, I'll be keen to try out this this quilt. And it's said to be rated down to like -4 degrees. But like, look how lofty it is. It's like 850 fill power. Like, I couldn't believe it just when I got it and it was in the compression sack and opened it up. It just kept expanding and expanding. And it's actually really awkward to the point of being annoying trying to get it even into this massive lofting bag. It was like all over the place, like a big slippery worm. So yeah, but I'm like, the weight of it is just crazy for how warm it is. And it's got all the wee clips and zips on it, so you can actually almost turn it into a sleeping bag. It doesn't have a hood, so that's a wee bit of get rid of the weight of it. and you basically rely on an insulated mat then to give your insulation. Like, but the theory is anyway, like basically if you're in a sleeping bag and you're lying on top of the feathers or whatever the filling is, it collapses. There's no insulation on that bit where you're lying, extremely low insulation. So I suppose that's how a lot of the weight is cut out of these things. So I might actually, if I do convert the quilt, using the quilt, I'm hoping it's going to feel a bit more natural, like what I experience at home, because I've never slept well in the outdoors. Well, not recently anyway. I'm sort of hoping the closer I can get to like the home feeling of being in my bed and putting the quilt over might help. But if I do like this, then I'll probably get a lighter weight one that's not rated to -4 degrees, because that's a bit much. So yeah, that's the Optimus UL 850. I shall be testing out as well. So I can't remember even what weight that is, but I think it's like 700 grams or something. And then with an 875 gram tent, that's a good combo. Look at that. Right, I hope you get something out of this wee review. I'm glad just that there's going to be a review out there, not review, at least first impressions. You can have a look at this wee tent and know what, if you do decide to go on the Sport Pursuit and get it, what you're going to get, basically. But I would recommend it. Hopefully I'll get out soon in it, give it a proper test in, and hopefully get over my trust issues with the fiberglass carbon fiber poles. Yeah. Here comes spring adventures. Bring on some sunshine. Yup.
So here I am, camping in my living room. I thought while I had my quilt, I would slip it on over the mat. So that bit all zips together, so it's like a little foot toe box, and it slips down over the mat. Look at the loft. Lofty. It's incredible. And then there's wee straps, they're called mat straps I think, and then underneath they're elasticated, so I've got one of them attached, but you can attach the other one. Yeah, I probably will attach the other one maybe. But even with that one pad strap, so there's a wee zip in that bottom bit to create that toe box, got that on, so slips that onto the mat, that keeps it secure that way. And then pad strap stops at least that middle part slipping around, and then it's just like a blanket. It's great. And because it's pretty secure, so I'm a regular, I'm always wriggling around, and it's staying, it's big enough that it's just staying where it needs to stay, and it's toasty. But yeah, I was actually wondering while I was landing here, I just wanted to update, the tent actually has inside here, there's not just 1, 2 little loops there, there's actually 4, so there's like a little diamond shape here, to be able to put some 2mm cord through there, which would be perfect for drying things out or putting a lantern up. I really like this, but I really do think, I might, because with the inner tent, it doesn't really need to be that strong. It's and I might actually cut across here and stitch in a zip or Velcro or something, and just so that I can open that up, and because even just to have boots or something in that wee spot, there's enough space where it's like, and space is a rare commodity in a wee tiny one-person tent. So yeah, definitely loving this wee tiny tent. I'm loving this lofty quilt. I think I've become a quilt person. Who knew? Right, wait a bit. Night.